Thank you so much for being here and for sharing this incredible documentary with us all. I think we're going to open it up to some audience questions in a bit. But this film is just such an incredible mixture of just this one instance of everybody coming together for such a worthy cause. Can you talk a little bit about the process of, just logistically coordinating all of these people to come together for this one concert? How did all that come together in the first place?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you everybody for joining us and learning about our cause, and thank you and the Tribeca team for giving us the platform to share these stories. So, this was filmed in October of 2023, and really, we gotta remember, we're still kind of coming out of the pandemic. People hadn't been together for a while, they hadn't been in person, and so, we wanted to do something triumphant, and talking to Jill and Ed, let's do a concert. Music brings people together, and it's a good reason to rally the community. But we combine that with the medical summit and bringing families to town. So, if you're someone living with ED, as you've all now learned about, leaving your home can be an incredible challenge. So, to get people from across the world to Seattle, it wasn't easy, but it was important to be with good people. And, if you're battling ED and you're a family, to sit next to a doctor like Dr. Gene Tang, to sit next to a biotech company, to hear live music, to hear comedy, it was joy and hope, but also learning, and gave us a roadmap to march forward on our mission to cure ED.
One great metaphor I think you use in the film is just the butterfly effect, as so many things where this one concert can help spread awareness to so many people, how these children and their families have inspired so many, and how cures research into this disease can provide insight into so many other diseases. How I don't know, it's just such a beautiful apt metaphor for how these small acts of love and kindness can really have such a wide breadth. And this film is also kind of acting in its own way to have this effect.
Yeah, and thank you, and you said it perfectly. Butterfly effect, this concept, and it starts with families, but the mission and the model. Everybody in this room, if you heard about ED for the first time today, everyone knows somebody that battles a rare disease or cancer and an illness. And I think you just want options and hope and science and a community that's rallied to really have your back. And we decided about a decade ago to take a different approach to medical research, right? It's not common to bring in musicians and finance innovators and technology innovators, but we built a model of data, incentivizing collaboration against doctors and researchers, and a new investment model of venture philanthropy, and it's worked. ED is rare. ED is one of 10,000 rare diseases, but if you look at that rare disease community together, that's 400 million people. 1 in 10 people are affected by a rare disease, yet 95% of a big slice of the planet has 0 approved treatments. 2 months before the film, we got the first ever FDA approved treatment for ED. In the year since, right up until last month, we now have 3 FDA approved treatments. So this is real progress happening because of our mission in the communities. The butterfly effect piece is, this is working in ED. We feel a duty and a responsibility and obligation to take this model and help the 400 million people that have a rare disease. It works. Let's come together, let's unite, and let's be honest. We're in an unprecedented era of an attack on science. So models like this work, they're powerful, and the butterfly effect from here is people in theaters, people that watch this film, tell 10 people, spread the word, and that becomes millions of people, and that will allow us the support and the fundraising and the awareness to start to onboard additional rare diseases.
I guess also speaking to the urgency, has there been any other updates or any things that the audiences should know about what's coming in the coming months for the film, or for research, or for the whole research facility and outreach and providing awareness that the audience can know about or help bring to light for the rest of the community?
Yeah, as far as the science side, momentum is at an all-time high. When we started, there's 2 clinical trials that didn't give a lot of hope. Today there's 50, so the hope that any one of those 50 clinical trials can be more approved treatments. The science we're funding today, 40% of it is defined as curative, so getting those curative therapies into the hands of individuals with EB and ultimately approved. We're in an era of a revolution of things like gene editing, CRISPR gene editing, EB's one gene mutation, so it gives us so much promise as far as the film. This helps catalyze more momentum and funding for that science. Many announcements to come very soon. The feedback has been amazing. Our goal with this film is to raise as much awareness and funding for the mission as possible. So that means more, screenings in theaters across the world. That means eventually anybody anywhere on the planet being able to see this film. Even in the last couple of days being here at Tribeca, yes, it's people that want to support the mission, from lemonade stands to more significant philanthropy, but it's also people that want to show the film in schools and to their children and in medical centers. So you all, get to see it first before the world here, thanks to Tribeca, but the mission and the goal of what we will deliver on is that anybody in the world can watch this very soon.
And I think one of the most beautiful parts of the film is just watching the kids get to be kids with their family, go to the zoo, create art themselves. Can you talk a little bit about, were you there for the filming process with the children, and just how was it getting to be with them throughout the course of production?
Yeah, and you introduced me as executive producer of the film, but I'm CEO of Biography, so it's my job every single day to meet with families, get to know these families. We were talking right before this. Of course, with the exception of Deanna, who was with us in a different way, every single one of those families you guys met, Rowan and Miley and Eli and Hodges, they were all at the premiere on Thursday, walking the red carpet, being lifted up as the stars that they absolutely are. So, you meet these families and you keep your stories in their heart. And if you want a little booster shot of bravery, you spend 5 minutes with any of these families and you'll be ready to move mountains. So that was what is so beautiful about Girls Festival, is that they were here, they were treated like the royalty that they were, and they were the stars of the day. And I gotta tell you, particularly young Rowan gave us all a master class on media and how to work that red carpet. She was on fire the whole weekend and said things more eloquently than I ever could. So they asked to introduce me at the panel on Thursday, and I said, I'm just Rowan's assistant, and I should take my job. So that was our biggest, when you tell these stories, your biggest concern is how to do them with delicacy and how to do them with respect. And that was critical to us starting. Matt Finland, the director, the trust of entering these families' homes. Like, you're seeing part of these stories, and he spent hundreds of hours with these families in the same way we do. So great and deep care. And the first reviewers of this film were every single family that was in it, along with other members of the community, to make sure we told the story in the right way. And that was a big part of the process.
That's incredible. I think we have time for a few questions. Sir?
So, do you hope to be able to take this story and do other things with it, meaning maybe some specials on television or in some social media format that, and where do you see yourselves as taking also the idea of the live show? Can it be done, replicated, come to New York and other cities?
Yeah, you actually said it perfectly. A film like this is bigger than the hour and a half that you see, and that's all the feedback that we got, right? Bring more music, bring these stories. We want to hear more from the doctors, we want to hear more from the families. So, I guess in that sense for us, it's maybe non-traditional for a film release. The mission for us is really as many people as possible to see this. How can we use this to, catalyze fundraising and philanthropy around this and awareness around this? So, all those things that you mentioned absolutely are the things that we're talking about, and why we wanted to come to Tribeca, because we were looking at different film festivals. Our headquarters is here in New York, and we knew this would be the type of launching pad with the right people that can help us accomplish all those things. So yes, in theaters, on streaming, on platforms, building events and experiences. So it's not just at a movie theater, but making sure that you can meet the community, meet the individuals that battle the disease, and learn from the scientists, and be uplifted by music. Because as I'm sure you all noticed, that's a big part of the film. This isn't light, right? And it can be hard to tell, but those musical moments and those laughter moments really allow that balance. So to create that physically and experiences around the world is absolutely something we are very interested in.
I think we have time for a few more, I believe. Yes?
Sorry, I actually came back from your Thursday. Seriously, just to tell you that I
That's awesome, and thank you for that, by the way, and thank you for coming back to see the film again. And you know, the thing about Jill and Eddie is, I've been working in philanthropy for 20 years, and you won't find more authentic, driven human beings. And it's not just lending a stage and a voice, it's showing up for the families, knowing these families, showing up at the medical center, showing up for the board meetings. Jill's chair of our board, Jill and Ed are at every single board meeting, involved every single week. So, you know, that sentiment that you have for those of us that are living it every day could be more authentic, driven activists on the planet. As far as how to get involved, you know, the biggest reward over the last couple of days is the unanimous thing that everybody says afterwards is, what can I do to help? And that's different for everybody. I think all that we ask, your skills, your talents, your families, your networks, like get them involved in a way that works for you. But for anybody that asks us that question, you know, epresearch.org, there's hundreds of volunteer opportunities. There's so many ways to get involved. You know, volunteers and people in the community are the lifeblood of what we do that allows our work to be possible. So, you know, go to epresearch.org and you can find so many ways to be involved in a way that works and fits for you.
I think we have time for one or two more, potentially. Or I also have another question myself. I was wondering how involved was the process of finding that balance, like you said, between the music and telling the stories of the people with EB and the doctors and the lives of everybody who's they've affected. How was it that you were hoping to find that tonal balance, but also in terms of how much of the concert to use, where these kind of beats would arise, if you have any insight into that?
Yeah, you know, it's such a great question too. For people like yourself and people in rooms with so much experience with film, I mean, you know, so many iterations of the film, you know, down to the minute where, you know, you guys in Tribeca are like, you know, today's the deadline, like, okay, you know, we're gonna get it in. But it was 2 years in the making, and all of that balanced iterations, I think, of all the details and all the specifics, that was the central question always. Is the balance right in this cut? Is it right in this cut? And, you know, sometimes you don't know about this community and you see what these families go through. It can be, you know, jarring or daunting, but you know, even what you're seeing is a fraction of the reality of what these families actually go through. So I think, you know, how we portray and share their stories started with the families, you know, and then watching it, and how do you feel about this? How is this represented? And so, you know, they were the true north, if you will, of who we look to on that balance and their stories. As far as the music, you know, it may surprise people, or it may not for people that are fans, but, you know, Eddie was involved in every minutia and detail of that balance, right? And so, is there enough music? Is there too much music? Because that was another, you know, core part of what we talked about. We wanted the families to shine, you know, we wanted the mission to get across. And so it was a lot of back and forth and which songs to use and which songs are personal to families. But, you know, in the end, we got to a place where we were all incredibly happy with that balance. And I hope that the audience feels as much where it can be, you know, heartbreaking at times, particularly as you're learning about this for the first time. But we wanted always to pull everyone out with a hope that's real. I mean, and it says in the film, you know, like this is tangible, real hope, right? We're making progress, we're getting treatments approved, the research is advancing. So, you know, we couldn't not share the difficult times with this, because you have to understand that, but, you know, in life, ever since the dawn of time, that delicate balance of, you know, the difficulty and the challenges, the hero's journey, the things that you have to overcome to get to why we are so hopeful and why we are so motivated. And also, like, all this progress is milestones and momentums, but it's not that end game. So, you know, we're at this point where momentum is an all-time high, but we wanted that balance to have the ultimate goal of leaving people feel inspired that we can do something about this, but also motivated that we still have a ways to go, and we want people to be inspired to join us to make that progress and get across the finish line.
Well, I think we're all very inspired, and thank you so much for sharing this message, the music, the hope that this film has helped us all achieve with this. Everybody, one more time for a matter of time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Before you go, and before they turn the lights